Menopause and the skin. It's something I talk about an awful lot, and it's something that affects almost all of my clients to one degree or another. My average client age is probably between 40 and 55, and that's sort of the bulk of the people that I see are around that age group. So it is something that I end up discussing an awful lot. Hormones particularly come into skin and hair removal, or sort of, laser hair removal, because they impact on both of those things. Menopause is very much being talked about in the press more at the minute. Women are allowed to be seen to be discussing it. It's not something that needs to be swept under the carpet. I think there's an awfully long way to go, but it does seem that it is getting out there more, and people are starting to take it more seriously and understand how important a thing it actually is. So I thought, after a few conversations I've had this week, that I would jump in and come and talk to you about this, and perhaps start putting some information about this, because it's such a big thing for me in my clinic. I had a clinic on Thursday last week. So for those of you that don't know, I now do a day a week out of a local gym. And now their age group is probably quite similar in a lot of ways. And I ended up chatting to quite a few of the ladies there. And out of 5 women that I spoke to last Thursday, 5 of them, so 5 of the women that I spoke to, all said that in the last 12 months their skin has deteriorated dramatically. 5 women out of one day of chatting to people in my first day working out of the gym. And that was really, that was quite shocking actually. I couldn't believe that so many people were noticing this, and I thought, what's the reason? And then I looked at their ages, and every single one of them was in that perimenopausal, menopausal bit. The first 3 were all 53 years old. Might have been 52. I apologise if I've made them older than they are. But they all had the same story to tell. And that was, I've always had quite good skin. I've always looked after my skin fairly well. But in the last 12 months, oh my God, what's happened? I feel old. My skin's changed. The products I'm using aren't doing what they should be doing. And it has been a really dramatic thing. It seems to have changed their skin very quickly. And there is a reason for that. When you are young and you are under 21, your skin's collagen is developing. And when you look at children and young people, they have that beautiful, almost slightly translucent, bouncy skin. It looks strong, it looks clear. And unless you're unfortunate enough to suffer from something like acne, generally, you can really see the difference in a young person's skin to somebody who's older, into their sort of 30s, 40s and upwards. They have got very rapid skin cell turnover. So the point from skin cells being produced in the skin, sort of lower down in the epidermis, there's 7 layers of skin cells basically. And as they go through, they get produced like nice juicy grapes. And as they move up through the layers where they get shed off the top, they start off as grapes and they become what's called keratinized. And they become thinner and flatter and firmer. And as they flake off the top, they look more like a cornflake than a grape. That happens to all of us, and that's your house dust. Okay, so all that dust you have around your house, that's your dead skin cells. That happens in children and young people at around 28 days. That cycle from being produced to shedding off the top is around 28 days. That leads to lots of nice, lovely, fresh cells being produced all the time, and all the cells that are visible are always fresh and new, or newer, because that rotation happens more quickly. As we age, that turnover slows down. So it starts at around 28 days. As we get into our 40s, we're looking at maybe sort of 60 days, so sort of 8 weeks rather than 4 weeks. And as we head into our 60s and 70s, that can go as slow as 90 days. So we are looking at this really slow, slowing down of skin cell turnover. That leads to duller skin, it leads to drier skin, it leads to lines and wrinkles. Because what's happening is those skin cells at the bottom are going, well, they're not shedding off yet. There's all these cells above me, and I don't need to produce any more till they're gone, because I need to keep that 7 layers. And the ones at the top are going, well, there's nothing new coming up from down there. I'm hanging on. So one of the things we can do is encourage skin cell turnover. So I'll talk about that shortly. our collagen production. Now, collagen is a protein and it is the structure of your skin. It's the scaffolding. It's what gives you the firmness. We have it in our skin and our joints, and it's a really, really crucial part of our makeup. From the age of 21, we lose 1% of our collagen in our bodies every year. So once we hit 21's your peak, ladies, if we're past that. But obviously, to start with, you're not really going to notice that. We get away with an awful lot in our 20s. The first 5 years of menopause, we lose 30% of our collagen in 5 years. 30%. It falls off a cliff. And this is why these ladies have said to me, in the last 12 months, I've sort of hit menopause or perimenopause, and I've noticed the hormonal changes. And at the same time, my skin has deteriorated so quickly. They've suddenly developed lines and wrinkles they didn't have. Their skin doesn't feel as supple. That's because their collagen has fallen off a cliff. And then after that, that settles back down, and then you start losing 2% a year. So it's still more than when you're younger, but that big chunk that we lose is very apparent very quickly. And I see it all the time. And like I said, I had 5 conversations just on Thursday talking about that very thing. So what we do in that time is really important. We lose, our estrogen drops. So unless you're on HRT, which can help, estrogen loss will, well, these things are all linked. And it will lead to drier skin. And that's all over our bodies. And I'm going to give you all a good contact at the end of this for something that I don't do, but a colleague of mine does, that very much impacts on menopausal women and is due to estrogen loss. So I'll tell you about that. I'm going to write a note to remind myself to do it, to tell you all about what she does. So we lose our collagen and our estrogen. By losing estrogen, we lose our ability to retain water in our skin. So our skin becomes drier and we don't produce the same oils. So it becomes dry and dehydrated. Dry is oil, dehydrated is water. So we lose both of those things. So our skin becomes thinner. It becomes over time more papery. We bruise more easily and it becomes slacker. The other thing that happens is we lose our fat pads. Our body starts to sacrifice the fat pads on our face. I think Courtney Cox, she said that once you hit 40, you have to sacrifice your butt for your face. What that means is don't try and lose too much weight because we're already losing the fat pads in our face. And if we speed up fat loss, you guarantee it's always going to go off your face first. And again, all of these things are things that we can do something about. By losing those protective oils and the hydration in our skin, when our estrogen starts to drop, we quite often end up with a damaged barrier function. We don't have the nice, juicy, robust protection on our faces that we had before. So that damaged barrier function often leads to things like adult acne, rosacea. It can worsen rosacea. Rosacea being it's a very localized redness that often starts across the cheeks and nose. It can spread to here and the chin. I suffer from rosacea and have done for years, and a lot of that is about barrier function. With me, there's gut health and food intolerance issues as well, which obviously I've managed to resolve a lot of that now. But the damaged barrier function means our skin isn't looking after itself properly. We end up trying lots of products. We can make that worse, or we're not using the right things. So that damaged barrier function can lead to our skin looking duller. And like I said, we can get rashes, irritations, and spots that we really thought we'd grown out of in our 20s. Excuse me. The other thing that tends to happen around now, and whether it's linked with the menopause or whether it is just coincidence because that's the time it takes, I suspect there is, very strongly suspect there is a link, is we start to develop things like age spots on our face. Anybody who's around my age, and the age of people I'm talking about at the minute, that sort of 48 to sort of 55, 60 age group, we were very much of the era where we used to go outside all summer. We wanted to tan. We'd use baby oil. I don't know about you lot. I certainly did. Cooking oil, whatever you had to get the deepest tan we possibly could. We didn't know to protect our faces. And certainly if you look at our grandparents, they worked outside. They didn't know to protect their skins. And one of the things that you see as we age is age spots and sun damage. And that sun damage can be quite unsightly, and it's quite aging as well. Something I tell people quite a lot as well is if when you watch a CGI film, if you're looking at aging one of the actors, so they use CGI to age the actors, they actually change the skin tone and add sun damage and kind of mottle the skin tone before they add lines and wrinkles, because it's very aging. So even if you haven't got a wrinkle in sight, if you've got lots of sun damage and age spots pinging up, actually the chances are it's going to age you. So that seems to happen around now as well. Whether the hormone changes mean that the body suddenly releases all that pigment it's got, and or the sort of freckles that come out and go away, suddenly it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Suddenly that sun damage and those age spots appear more obviously around that time, because the skin's not able to protect itself as much anymore. So this sounds really horrendous. The other thing as well, facial hair. How many of my clients come to me now at this age and go, oh my goodness, I've suddenly developed all this facial hair on my chin. I've never had it before. I've only had the odd one here and there, and suddenly I've got all this facial hair, and what can I do about it? That is also down to hormonal changes. Now, women either come to me in their early 20s, after they've had babies, when they've changed the contraceptive, they're using the Mirena coil, breastfeeding, peri-menopause. They're all the key times that women notice facial hair, and menopause is a big one for that. And suddenly they've got, not only are they dealing with, feeling a bit older, they're looking a bit older, and suddenly they've got this beard or this moustache that they didn't have, and they're having to deal with that as well. So when you look at all these things, it's really quite depressing. And I get it. I am one of those women. I actually hit perimenopause very early for various reasons, and I've dealt with a lot of this over the last few years. Fortunately, I've been in the right place to deal with a lot of this, and it has made an enormous difference. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things that can be done. So I'm just going to finish this, and then I'll have got through that coffee, and I'll be bright and perky for you. So all these hideous things that are happening to us, and we're looking in the mirror, and where's my little mirror? I give one of the first things I do when people come and see me is I give them this, and I say to them, look in the mirror, and what is it? And you see them, you can see them straight away hone in on the thing that stresses them out, and that's always the thing that we work on first. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter whether I think your wrinkles need sorting out, or this needs sorting out, or your pigment really is the first thing I would deal with. What's the thing that you see when you look in the mirror? What's the first thing that jumps out at you and makes you go, oh my God, I really need to deal with that? Because that's what we start with. Because I want you to walk through a room, look in a mirror, and even if the response you see when you walk past that mirror is neutral, i.e. it neither makes you smile or cringe, that's progress. And so that's where we start invariably, because it can be really debilitating. We've spent the last 2 years looking at screens and Zoom meetings, and if you're in a room with a bunch of people, you're not looking at your own face. When you're on a Zoom meeting, how often are you not looking at anybody else in your meeting, but you're looking at your own face, because that's what you can see. I've got into the habit of putting my own little box out of the way so I can't see it, because it's really distracting and it can be quite depressing. And it's led to quite a few of my clients feeling quite stressed because these things are becoming more apparent. So part of it is, let's not make this a big deal. We age. You may have seen the post that I put out the other day, and one of my strap lines is now going to be, I'm not anti-wrinkle. We are a certain age. It's when you start trying to stop yourself look a certain age that you start to make yourself look a bit odd, and sometimes older than you actually look. If you overdo fillers and Botox and stuff, you can actually make yourself look older than you're intending. So I'm not here to banish all wrinkles and make you look gleaming and polished, because it's not necessarily the right way to do it. My focus is to get your skin as healthy and functioning as it can possibly be, because without that, you will show your age and your health on your face, because this isn't just about your skin. This is about you. We reflect the health of our bodies in our skin. So it's really important that sometimes when we're looking at things like skin concerns, we also look at hydration, sleep, stress, nutrition, and gut health. Those things, alongside your hormones, all impact on your skin and your general health. and it shows in your skin. So they're all those things that I look at, and they're all equally as important. Now, there's some things I can help you with and some things that I can't. There's not a lot I can do about your stress levels. I can give you some advice on sleep, and I can give you some good context to talk about sleep. Nutrition and gut health I can definitely help you with, and hydration I can advise on. However, one of the things I said, your skin loses the ability to maintain water as we age. So you can drink as much water as you like, but if there's nothing in your skin to hang on to it, then that's, you're still going to have dehydrated skin. You can drink gallons and gallons of water, but your skin can still be dehydrated. And if it's dry, it will feel unpleasant as well, because our skin loses those oils that we produce as we get older as well. So like I said, when I first see that client, I put them in front of the mirror. I need to know what it is that's stressing them out. What is it that they are most focused on? And how do we address the issues of dropping collagen, dropping estrogen, reduction of fat pads in the face, dry, thin skin, damaged barrier function, all those things that we've just talked about. How do we address that without overwhelming that person and without, overdoing things? So you've got the thing that that is frankly my most important thing, and that is your general skin health. It's what you do at home. That has got to be number one before we do anything else. If you haven't got a very reasonably robust home skincare routine using the right actives, you've got to have active products, then you're not going to get the results of anything else. You might have been using Audi Special Moisturiser up until now and had perfectly good results, thank you very much, and that's great. Lucky you, you saved a lot of money and your skin has coped well with that. But now we're at menopause, and now we are hitting those times when all of these quite dramatic changes are taking place. You need to get some actives in your routine, and there are a few that are non-negotiable if you want to make any progress and get some results. Now, don't forget this skincare routine we can actually discuss over Zoom initially. We can put some basics in without you having to come into the clinic. So we can start that before we get you on the sort of treatment journey and the pathways that I build for people. Those non-negotiables are sunscreen. Now, I'm not talking about the stuff you buy off the shelf to go on holiday with. This is physical sunscreen that goes on your face as part of your day moisturiser every single day of the year. UVA rays damage your skin, and they are there in the same concentrations in winter as they are in the summer. They come through glass. They're hitting me coming through my window in my office right now, and they are hitting our skin all of the time. Now, we need sun exposure. Sun exposure is really important. It's no accident the sun comes out and we all go like this. And there's no accident that we say, I love being in the sun, it makes me feel happy. We are designed to use sunlight. We're a bit like sunflowers. We turn to the sun, we want it. People like it in varying degrees. But overall, generally, life is happier when it's sunny. And that isn't an accident. And to then hide from it completely is actually really bad for our health. However, we need to keep it off this bit. Sunlight converts cholesterol, circulating cholesterol, into vitamin D in our cells. Cholesterol is a symptom of inflammation. It's not a cause of illness in its own right. It is a symptom of inflammation. By converting that cholesterol to vitamin D is anti-inflammatory, and it can help make us feel better. Illnesses are less severe, sort of colds and coughs and things, they come in the winter. We need that sun exposure. But UVA rays damage our skin, and this bit is exposed all of the time. So we need to protect this bit all of the time. You're more likely to get sun damage, and ultimately that sun damage can lead to skin cancers if we don't protect our faces all the time. It's the same for your hands. The bits that are exposed all the time are the ones where we see the most common skin cancers. However, we should still be getting UV exposure on the rest of us. So sunscreen, if you've ever listened to anything I've ever talked about, you will hear me bang on about this all of the time. Sunscreen is a non-negotiable. I've got various sunscreens. Clear Shield here is a really, really nice one for oily skins, for acne-prone skins. It doesn't clog your skin up. I only use physical, not chemical sunscreens. Chemical sunscreens they're less effective because they reduce in their effectiveness throughout the day because they break down when the UV rays hit them. And those breakdown chemicals are absorbed into the body, and there is a growing body of evidence that they are endocrine disruptors, and they can actually lead to increased problems such as pigmentation and things like that. So there's a lot of evidence out there that chemical sunscreens are not the way to go. Maybe for your 2-week holiday on the beach, you need the benefits of short-term exposure to those chemicals outweigh the risk of burning, because we must never, ever, ever burn. But if you're using something every single day of the year, it needs to be safe, it needs to be effective, and it needs to not have breakdown chemicals that we absorb into our bloodstreams. So I've got various Illumia sunscreens. We've got Sheer Hydration, which is tinted. We've got Moisture Matte, which is more of a sort of foundation type. So if people really don't want to wear too much makeup but need something, Moisture Mattes are amazing because they give you that coverage that it just evens out that skin tone. Talk about uneven skin tone being aging. It just gives you that little bit of coverage. And then more recently, 95% of all the products I recommend are Illumia. There are 2 things that I use that are not Illumia from a home care point of view. One of them is an exfoliating scrub by Protocol, which is actually really nice to use occasionally. And Synergy 6, this is the other sunscreen that we use. This is a slightly lighter, but very occasionally someone doesn't get on with the textures of the Illumia sunscreens. Most people do, but sometimes they don't. Synergy 6 is a really lovely alternative. There is a physical and a chemical filter in this, and it's the safest that I've found and the nicest that I've found to use out of all my alternatives. Nice and light, easy to use. It's a factor 50, and it's got a nice gentle tint in it. In fact, I think it's what I've got on this morning. I only put it on literally before I came on the camera, so I am still a bit dewy. That will start to soak in over the course of the next hour or so. And it's a really lovely sunscreen. So if you're not convinced with the Illumia, most people are, but if you're not, that is my alternative. If you want something a bit lighter and easier to use day to day, that is a really great alternative. So sunscreen, non-negotiable, absolutely non-negotiable. That has to happen to prevent further damage, because without that, there's no point spending money on expensive treatments, because you're just not going to get the long-term results from them if you're allowing your skin to become damaged further. Resolve yourself that when you're on holiday, you're going to wear a hat in the sun, wear your big sunglasses, keep this bit out of the sun. If you want to slow down that damage and reduce the effects of UV rays for when you're older, you might not care when you're 40, even 45, you might think my skin's great, and then suddenly peri-menopause, remember what I said, drops off a cliff, 30% of collagen you lose in that first 5 years of menopause. It has taken all these women I've been talking about by real shock. They really have, it really has upset them, because they've always had good skin, they've always used sunscreen, they've always done this. Suddenly the change is so apparent. The more we can do to reduce that real massive drop off, the better. So sunscreen, number 1, non-negotiable. Retinol is another one. Retinol is derived from vitamin A. Again, you'll hear me bang on about this quite a lot. Retinol is essential for all the functions within the skin. It supports all the functions of the skin. It can help with, well, it helps with skin cell turnover. It's not an exfoliant. It helps with the turnover of the skin, which is what I talked about earlier on. It helps that skin turnover start to increase. It slows down as age, like I said, goes from 28 days as a child to 60 days, sort of my age, sort of around that sort of early perimenopause bit. And then as we hit sort of 60, 70 onwards, you're looking at 90 days. So slower turnover, duller skin. Retinol is an absolutely key ingredient in your skincare routine to keep that skin cell turnover going. Really, really important. So sunscreen and retinol, really key. And both of those products also have peptides in, with peptides and retinols being the only 2 ingredients at the moment that you are legally allowed to say reverses the signs of aging. So if you haven't got those in your routine, you really should come and talk to me. Once you've got your home care routine in, and you need things like Ultimate Boost Serum. So Ultimate Boost Serum is a hyaluronic acid and peptide based serum as well. So we said about skin not holding water. Hyaluronic acid is an ingredient we naturally produce in our bodies, but it tends to reduce, and it's the hyaluronic acid that hangs on to that water. 1 molecule of hyaluronic acid hangs on to 4 molecules of water. Dermal fillers are made of hyaluronic acid. So you need a good hyaluronic acid serum in your routine. Our sunscreens have hyaluronic acid. They're hyaluronic acid, not glycerin moisturizers. hyaluronic acid based serums. Our retinols have hyaluronic acid in them. It's really, really important. So a basic routine would be the right cleanser for your skin, depending on your skin type. We don't want to strip any more oils away, so we'd use something like Hydro Boost or Sensicalm. We need something for exfoliation, Brighten Clear Exfoliating Liquid or AHA serum. You need to exfoliate. We prefer chemical exfoliants to physical ones. Well, like I said, if you really do want a scrub, I've got the one for you on my shelf. Serum. Ultimate Boost in the morning, retinol and Ultimate Boost at night. Sunscreen during the day, night moisturiser. And that's not even mentioning eye cream. It depends how much you want to throw at this. Your sunscreen and your retinol are top tips, and you can have a retinol directly for your eyes as well. But this is, you will get as much, 50% of your result is what you do at home. And if you're not doing any of that, but you're still throwing lots of money at Botox and things like that, really, really think about what you're doing with your home care routine, because it's really important. So that's something we can talk about separately. If you want to talk skincare, come and have a chat with me. And we can do a lot of that initially, like I said, over Zoom. So we can set that up and then bring you into the clinic. That's the first thing to do. Any of my skincare pathways include advice on that home care. If you set up a subscription package for injectables, for example, you won't ever pay for sunscreen again. That is included. So you pay every month, you get your Botox every 3 months, you can set up the amount of fillers that we think you're going to need, and I will just make sure you've got sunscreen because it's so important. So when it comes to that pathway then, what do we need to look at? What do we need to do? There's lots of things we can do. My recommendation is always a minimum of 1 treatment a month. You get into that habit of doing something once a month. Bear in mind what I said about skin cell turnover of small people being about 28 days. You set up that monthly treatment and you're trying to mimic that 28-day cycle by encouraging skin cell turnover, encouraging exfoliation. Monthly is a really good time to do treatments. If you can only do 2 monthly, you'll still get a benefit. You're better off doing 2 monthly treatments throughout the year than spending 3 months throwing everything at it and then not doing anything else again for the rest of the year. Regular treatments, we can build that as a skincare package. We can do it as a subscription to break that down over the year if you want to. But ideally, the first 3 months tends to be a little bit more intense. For example, if you have something like Wow Fusion, I've got it for you. Wow Fusion, amazing treatment. Mesotherapy, needling, helps with all of those things. It's all back to front on here, isn't it? Fine lines and wrinkles, rosacea, redness, open pores, dry skin, dehydrated skin, hyperpigmentation, dull skin, and acne. All of those things that we've been talking about. Brilliant treatment. The protocol for that is the first 3 treatments are 2 weeks apart. If you're not doing any other treatments, if you're not having anything else regularly, and we decide to do WOW, those first 3 treatments, you have one initially, one 2 weeks later, another one 2 weeks after that, and then we go monthly. What I often do at that point is then add in chemical peels. That's not as dramatic as it sounds. They're very safe, they're very superficial, but they really encourage hydration of the skin, softening of lines and wrinkles. They encourage skin cell turnover. They're very good for reducing pigmentation. And combined with Wow Fusion, you can alternate them and get a really good ongoing long-term result. Said retinol, SPF, hyaluronic acid. So peels and Wow Fusion are my 2 most common treatments that I do, with skin pen microneedling being the other. Now that's for deeper collagen induction, it's for much deeper lines and wrinkles, and it's very good for scarring. I haven't got the pen here, the pen, I don't know if you can see it behind me. I don't think you can actually. It's on that shelf. You can just see it just above my thumb, just there. That's my skin pen needling. This is for, like I said, it's a needling thing. It's more adjustable than the Wow Fusion. It's not used with mesotherapy, but it's still a key product and treatment as part of that pathway. Older skins benefit. There's a little bit of downtime with that. You're looking 2 to 3 days of redness, but actually ultimately it's not too dramatic. You can, by the next day, you should be able to go out without too many problems. Then you've got the quicker fixes, the things that are supplementary to all of that. Getting your skin functioning as well as it can is my priority. Getting your home care as good as it can be is my priority. Sorry, my phone's just decided to oh, for God's sake. Sorry, we're back on. So that is all the priority, is getting everything as effective as it can be, your skin functioning as well as it can first before we do anything else. And then if the thing that stresses you out when you look in the mirror is, you know, the lines here, the lines here, the lines here, that the post I put out yesterday was about laughter lines, don't make them go away completely. Yes, okay, once they start coming right down the cheeks, then actually now is your time to start reducing that. I don't know if you can see in this light. See, I've got a little bit. They were a lot deeper. I don't want that completely frozen, because then you start, your face will want to move somewhere else and it can start to look a bit odd. Keep a bit of natural movement and don't overdo it. My eyebrows raise, for example, but this is much, much smoother than it used to be. I'm going to pop a picture below this later on with a really good example of how we lose the fat volume in our face. A very lovely lady and friend of mine came to me for some lip fillers a while ago, and we took her before picture. I then took, I had a look in her notes from previously, and from 3 or 4 years ago, I had another picture of her that I was able to lift the picture of her lips from. In that time, she's hit menopause. The pictures of the volume of her lips between those two pictures over the last 3 or 4 years is so dramatic in the volume that she has lost in her lips. My priority is replacing volume, not giving you something that you didn't have in the first place. I mean, if you've got very thin lips, yes, we can give you a little bit more and that's great. But in her case, it was about replacing what she'd lost from originally. And I will put that up below this so you can see. I can't do that on Instagram. I can't put pictures below on Instagram, but I'll put it in the group and I'll put it underneath the video in my Facebook group so you can see how much we lose. And I will use that as a picture over the next few weeks so you can see how much fat volume we lose. We lose it from here. There's fat pads in your forehead, across your cheeks, in your chin, and you have the fat in your lips as well. And as we age, that reduces. So dermal fillers are key for replacing those fat pads. A lot of people start with lips. Some people want to start with nasolabial folds. For those of you who've been watching me recently, you'll know that I started with cheeks. The lovely Michelle Worthington, some of you will know and some of you will have been to see her, is my mentor and my injector, and did a very lovely job of putting quite a lot of filler in my cheeks. And it was the place to start for me. And what it's done, it's lifted these lines. It's given me a bit of a jawline back. It's really lifted all around here. And it's made everything different. So it isn't just about my cheeks, it's about how my whole face looks. It lifted my under my eyes. Now this light is terrible. It makes me look like I'm really dark under my eyes. It's just because the light's in the wrong place and it's coming down on me. But actually, if you look at my before and after pictures, you can really see the difference in my eyes, my cheeks, my jawline, and my nasolabial folds. All of those things are key areas. So if when you look in the mirror, that's really apparent. It is a nice thing we can do at the beginning to start you off. We can pop a bit of volume back in, as long as we're getting on top of your skincare at the same time. Same with Botox. If when you look in the mirror, you're really just depressed because all you can see is deep lines across your forehead, bear in mind that static lines won't disappear instantly with Botox. You need to do the other things as well, but we can soften them and we can stop them getting worse. Lines that appear when you move your face, that's where the Botox comes in. And we can actually soften all that and make that a lot less traumatic for you. Excuse me. And obviously replacing volume in lips as well, because we lose that. And actually our femininity is in our mouths quite often, and it's seen to be the feminine thing. You know, we need, so those lip fillers actually can be quite important. Again, those of you who have seen recently, I did a set of lip fillers on a 73-year-old lady recently, and all we did was replace lost volume. I didn't put big borders on them. I didn't make them pouty. You wouldn't know that she's had any fillers in there, but it's just given her enough to get a little bit of a cupid's bow back and to just feel a little bit more feminine. And I'm so pleased with her results. So again, I'll stick that up under the video in the Facebook group. So if you're watching on Instagram, jump across the Facebook group and I will put those pictures up later on. So fillers and Botox are things that we can use for the quick fixes. That makes them sound superficial. They're not. They're really important parts of the aesthetics that we do, but they're not standalone treatments, and they're usually not the frontline thing that I do. And it's why when people book onto subscriptions for wrinkles and fillers, I make sure that they've always got the sunscreen that they need. So you'll never buy another sunscreen, all the while you're on a subscription package for those injectable cosmetics. You will never have to buy your sunscreen again, because I make sure you've always got that. And over the course of a year, you could try different ones as well. So that's a really nice way to do it. Break the cost up over the course of the year and make sure you've always got your sunscreen. It can seem really depressing hitting menopause. It can feel like, you know, it's the end of the line. I had this realisation recently that I'm not the current generation anymore, and that made me feel so old. My stepchildren are 32 and 28, and I have grandchildren, and suddenly it felt like their time, and I didn't like it one bit. It made me feel less relevant, it made me feel old, and I had to give myself a proper talking to go, actually, maybe, you know, it's just different. It's not, you know, this isn't bad. I'm not ancient. I can still do everything I could do before, and I've got to look away from the mirror, do the best I can with what I've got. I want to look good for my age, not try and look 30, because that's wrong, and that's where people go wrong, and that's when people look a bit odd. Focus on what we've got. Focus on the things that stress you out the most. Get the right skincare routine in place. Get a subscription so you never have to think, oh, I haven't booked this for ages, I haven't done this, and my wrinkle injections are massively out of date, or I've run out of sunscreen and I'm using flipping Nivea or whatever it is. Get a subscription package. Get yourself on, so you know that once a month you're coming into clinic, whether it's for a skin treatment, whether it's for injectables, whether it's just for some advice and some support on your home care treatments. It really is the way to go. And almost all of my regulars now are on those subscription packages, because it takes the pressure off it. You know we're going to deal with it, and you're on that pathway. So come and have a chat with me about subscription. I'll do a separate live about that. There are some on my website. I'm just drafting the final ones to go on there as well. So jump on my new website and you'll be able to find some of that as well. So there are lots of things we can do. It needn't be too miserable and depressing. I understand that it can stress people out, but there's lots we can do. And I've got lots of clients who have been doing this process with me and can really feel the difference and can really appreciate the changes that we've made, and to slow down that aging, make you feel better when you look in the mirror, make you look amazing for your age. You know, I don't want to make you look 40 if you're 50 or 20 if you're 50. I want your 50th birthday party pictures to be amazing. And that's what I focus on. I want people to go, oh my God, don't you look amazing? It might be your 50th, but your skin's gorgeous. You don't look your age. And, you know, who's your esthetician? Well, that's me. Come and see me. So I hope that's helped. If you want to book an initial consultation, I do a free 15-20 minute Zoom consultation. You can book this online, and we can do an in-clinic one. I have a full skin consultation that includes a treatment and things as well. So you get a treatment, you get a hairband, you get your cleanser, you get some samples of products to take away so we can decide exactly what it is we're going to use. You get a full prescription of home care sent to you, and I will write down my recommendations for ongoing treatments. You don't have to have those, but if you book in after that, you will get a free Selima with your first treatment as well. So I'm going to leave you there. I hope that's been helpful. My next one, I will come in probably Friday morning. It might be Monday, because I'm hoping to go to London for the weekend, which is exciting. So it depends what time we go as to whether I jump in on Friday morning. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the gym, so if anybody wants to come and have a chat at the gym, I'm offering free taster sessions at the gym. So if you want a little mini facial tomorrow, message me and I'll book you in at the gym, or just pop in and come in for a chat, so long as I'm not with somebody else. And hopefully that has been helpful. Come and have a chat with me, and I will be back soon to talk about subscription packages. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.